Welcome to the Trades Podcast, a podcast about the business of home improvement and promoting the trades to young adults. In this podcast, we talk with business owners, educators, and professionals about the benefits, skills, and related experiences of the home improvement business. Tips to help you with being successful from entry into the trades or established business owners. In this podcast, we hope to influence some young adults that the trades as a career is a great option leading to full and prosperous life. I'm Danny Torres, an MC, DJ, and podcaster, inspiring young adults by shining light onto career opportunities in our world today.
And I'm Jeff Mudd, home improvement contractor, writer of the Millionaire Carpenter series, and podcaster.
Stay tuned to 15 to 20 minutes of insightful tips. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Trades Podcast, recording in the Ignite podcast studio of the BBB right here in San Diego, California. I'm DJ Danny.
And I'm Jeff Mudd.
Here we are, and we are sitting here with a special guest. Everybody's special, of course, every time we have it here on the podcast. But we have John Gallagher with HBI. John, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing today? Glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. It's been great. You showed up a little early, enough time to really talk about a little bit more about HBI and get a little feel for, your headquarters is over in Tucson, Arizona right now, but you travel all over the Western area. But before we dive into HBI, but let everybody know who you are and your connection to HBI for the past 24 years.
Sure. Well, first about HBI, it stands for Home Builders Institute, but we like to shrink that down a little bit to HBI. And I'm actually a San Diego native here. And I went to the San Diego Job Corps. And the San Diego Job Corps actually has an HBI program here on it. And that's where I went to school and got into the trades. And I went there and I learned plumbing. And I got out of Job Corps, got a job in plumbing, worked here in San Diego for quite a while. Got all the way up to where I was right-hand man of a plumbing company owner and the only plumber with the key to the shop besides him, and went out and got my California contractor's license. So I hold a C36 plumbing contractor's license for California. And that's my path through Job Corps.
Interesting. I met John at the International Builder Show in Florida earlier this year, so I'm super excited to have him out here today. We're talking earlier in the show about some of the things that HBI does. HBI has a lot of things going on. So,
yeah, and the main goal through HBI, Home Builders Institute, building careers, changing lives, and I think that's what a lot of our podcast has been able to kind of promote a little bit more into the world of where we can find those careers, how it can change people's lives. Because it's important where having people know exactly where the resources need to come from, where they are, and what's out there, what the opportunities are out there. What's been some kind of exciting new opportunities that you've seen develop through the past 24 years from starting with Job Corps with HBI. And, that you've seen kind of been building up to where it's at today? Like, what are some new opportunities that are out there?
Well, the new opportunities, just starting back with the Job Corps real quick to touch on that, that's where HBI started, was primarily construction training with Job Corps, which is a contract through the Department of Labor. And we just had that solely for years. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden we developed another side, WTE. Workforce training workforce training is basically what it is. And that side is our own private contracts. That's not with the government. And that's the new side that is just blowing up right now. It's going crazy. It started off with programs with like Department of Justice, juvenile justice, to where we actually have programs that are inside of prisons, for that. And we've had those for a while. But lately, we've got into a couple new areas. We now have military programs. So we have a program here in San Diego that's linked up with Camp Pendleton. So the Marines that are actually, getting out of the Marines and going back into regular life, we have a program for carpentry and electrical. And how it works is the Marines are actually, their duty station is now in the school. They're still active Marines, and this is where their duty assignment is. I believe it's a 12-week program, and then they find them jobs before they graduate from the program and go to work in electrical or carpentry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the transitioning from the military service to private employment sometimes can be a really challenging thing for a young man trying to figure out what he wants to do. So that training up there is very important to keep them on the right path.
Yeah. Being in San Diego native also, a lot of friends that went through the military, Marines right there that were stationed at Camp Pendleton, and within being a Marine, they develop skills that are tied right into the home improvement industry, from electrical to carpentry to whether it's the trades within automotive. So it's important, where they know that they have those resources outside of that. Because I had a buddy specifically that before then, it was either try to go to college or go into the military. He chose the military first, and his path outside of it was to go to college. But even then, he was a motor T within the Marines, and he knew that if he had to, he can fall back on that skill that he learned from the Marines to go into a trade. And but not everybody has that same mindset of knowing exactly where their options are. And I think that's something that HBI, that's like you just mentioned, they're really providing, those opportunities for everybody. That's important.
Yeah.
How long is the training program here in San Diego for either the Marine program up there or Job Corps here?
The Marine program is a lockstep program, and it's about 12 weeks. I believe they do 6 weeks of carpentry and 6 weeks of electrical. And they all just run through it like a normal school would. It has a start date and an end date. The Job Corps is a really different animal, and that's where I'm at in the Job Corps spectrum, so I can really elaborate a lot more on the Job Corps than I can the other side. Job Corps program is pretty amazing. That program can be up to 2 years for a student to be able to go there. And it just depends on what they need. So the Job Corps program isn't lockstep. It's open entry, open exit. So we're always having students come in and always having students leave. So for the teacher, it's a little bit of a nightmare because it might be one student's first day and then another guy you're trying to find a job.
Right.
But the nice thing is all the students aren't leaving at the same time. So we basically graduate, I'd say 18 students per trade per year, because we really want to concentrate on quality. So at any given time, you got maybe one student 1 month, 3 students another, none at a certain time. So they're all kind of leaving when they're ready, which is kind of nice. And that saying that they used to say before, no child left behind, it really does embody that, because we don't let them go until they're done.
Right.
So what we do there is we teach them a trade. We have a high school and a GED program on site. Half the students come in with a high school or GED, but if they don't, we make sure they get it. We have an on-site driver's license program. So if they don't have a driver's license, we make sure they get the license.
Incredible.
And we have placement departments, and our main thing is if we can get a student a GED or high school, a driver's license, and a trade completion, and get them into an internship and a job, we've pretty much set that student up. And that's our premise at Job Corps. It's a pretty good program.
Where's the Job Corps located at in San Diego, John?
It's down in Imperial Beach. So there's a Navy base that's right there in Imperial Beach that pretty much is like a helicopter training facility. And we were given an old portion of the base because we're Department of Labor. So, we lease it from the Department of Defense, I think, for $1 for 10 years. And they gave us an old dilapidated base, and we fixed it up. And it's looking pretty good now because we do hands-on training down there.
So I actually have been down there long before I met you, and the students were doing some of the exterior rehab as part of their carpentry training when I was down there. What are the training programs that HBI has down there?
HBI down there, we're contracted to run electrical and plumbing. We have those 2 programs.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Job Corps down there has like 13 or 14 different classes down there, all in that campus, but
I believe they do have 13 hard trades, carpentry, welding, you name it.
Yeah.
But we have the contract for electrical and plumbing specifically.
Very good.
Yeah. And currently, when you, how are you guys finding, or how are these students or finding HBI, or what's the outreach that you guys are looking to really find these students that you have? Because like you said, it's not that you're trying to look for quantity, but quality of the person that you want to make sure that they're going to go through the program, finish it through, and ultimately, like you said, set them up because you want them to be have success and in the long run. What's that process like of how do they find you and how are you looking for them right now?
Well, that's a very interesting question because it's a government program, so the government is really terrible about advertising. So a lot of people don't even know the Job Corps program is even down there. Mm-hmm. It has been down there since 1979, and we joke and say it's America's best kept secret because no one knows it's there. Mm-hmm. But the premise of it, the students can be between 16 and 24 when they enroll. So that's the requirement there. The other requirement is they are supposed to be low income. So it's really a low-income program, and the premise is to take students who may be in a poorer family and to break the cycle of poverty by making that student a middle-class worker. Mm-hmm. And then you can really, change the whole direction of a family's future.
Yeah.
But for advertising, the center itself has recruiters. But it's just amazing to me how many people don't know it's there. And hopefully a podcast like this can bring some awareness to it.
Yeah.
And just really quickly about the program, it's completely free. There's no cost involved at all. It's Department of Labor money. There's dorms. The students can live in the dorms. There's cafeteria, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. They provide clothing. They provide education, everything that the student would need. The student can actually stay there for 2 years. If they already have a high school or a GED or driver's license, they might not need 2 years, but some do. And it's not a loan. It's absolutely 100% free. There's no cost to the student after they leave. Great program.
That's
awesome.
Amazing.
So when a student feels they've graduated or the instructor feels they're ready to graduate, what does that mean to them being job ready for the job market? What skill set or credentials that they would bring to a potential employer, say I'm ready?
Well, one of the things we get them down there is we get an OSHA 10 card for them. Our teachers will be OSHA 500 certified to where they can teach the classes to the students. So they get that. We'll give them a pre-apprentice certificate in either plumbing or electrical, whichever one they choose. And then, if they don't have the other things like high school or GED and driver's license, but those are the main things that they leave with. One big thing is we have internship possibilities. So I know there's, like for the plumbing program, there's a big plumbing contractor here in town that I think he pretty much takes all of our students as an intern for a few weeks. And the ones he likes, he just hires them right up. Yeah. And so the students, they just go right to work. And the electrical program does the same thing.
Yeah, that's amazing because we just recently had Scott Farrell with Black Mountain Plumbing within San Diego. And he mentioned something where he does ride-alongs with students or with anybody that might be interested in getting into the plumbing industry and just getting a feel for what it is. Certain things like that where you have business owners that, like you said, that do take in a lot of the students and just take them out just to have a little, pretty much a ride-along or just like a showcase of exactly what it is that they'll most likely be getting into. And those business owners, I mean, what are the reactions of when they end up getting these students from the program? Are they what's the response that or feedback that you've gotten back from those business owners?
Pretty good. Of course, every once in a while a student doesn't work out. That's just how it is. But for the most part, the students work out pretty good, especially if they do the internship, because we could do an internship and kind of mold it to the company. But a lot of times we'll have a company take a student for 2 or 3 weeks. We cover the workman's comp on them because they really are our student. So there's no cost or responsibility to the employer. But then what we ask the employer is if they do that, if they have a job for them, and to actually use them in that capacity while they're on an intern. And usually what happens is the employer just gets a hold of us and goes, yep, I want them. And they just take them. And the beauty of that is the students already had 2 to 3 weeks with the employer. Employers had 2 to 3 weeks with the student. They've probably already either created a bond with each other or haven't. And that way, when the employer takes them, it's usually a long-term employment because they've already had a chance to check each other out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say if they're coming out of there, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, they're coming out of there with a great overview of either electrical or plumbing. Potential employers sees their worth ethic that they've got, understands their soft skills that they've learned a little bit. So their training program, next level, starts with the employer with on-the-job training, and they can go from there into a full-on other training programs that allow them to get their journeyman card over the next few years. So that certificate they're leaving Job Corps with, that really is setting the stage for future success in a very short amount of time. Is that a good way of describing it?
Yeah, I'd say that's a very good way to describe it. And I'm glad that you mentioned journeyman card. That's one thing that we really promote is to have the students go into a formal apprenticeship program. Any one of them, we love them all. And there's several of them here in San Diego and whatever fits the student the best. But that's really the continuing education is going into a journeyman program, going and getting a journeyman card after 4 years. Another path that students have done is just go to work for somebody. And after 4 years, you can get a letter from that employer on letterhead saying that they work in the capacity of journeyman. And you can take that letter to the state, pay some money, take a test, and start your own company. And we do have students running around in San Diego that are licensed plumbing contractors and electrical contractors.
For a young, aggressive person, that's definitely a path, and